Hello, I'm Roger Scholey, photo reporter with the San Diego Union Tribune. Here today with Peter Jensen, a famous and prolific author in San Diego who spent some time in the 1990s writing for the San Diego Reader on architecture and other related topics. So today we're going to talk about an article called "The Secret Life of San Diego Alleys." I mean, most of San Diego now does not have alleys, and it's a very quaint land use idea that went away with big houses. So what do you make of the history of alleys in San Diego and why they're still important, do you think?
You know, isn't it amazing that when you go down to a community like Mission Beach, where the sidewalks lead straight to the beach, and the front yards are just these little courtyards lined up along the one sidewalk heading straight for the beach, and you go, how does this happen? Well, it happens because they have alleys that come in from the back, and it used to be that services, everything was delivered to a house, and this is just my own theory, is that when you aspired to have a small house, let's say up in North Park or something like that, there were still services coming around your house, bread, milk,
And trash collection.
cleaners, trash collection, of course. And if you put all that in the alley, it's kind of like the big houses in Bankers Hill or something like that, where the service people came around to the back and things like that. So that was sort of an aspirational thing, I thought, for a lot of people. The front of the house is devoted entirely to aesthetics, what the neighborhood looks like, and that kind of deal. I was told when I was doing the article by a number of architects and observers of the city, that really it was it came down to, once again, the automobile and also land use. I mean, how much the cost of land. I mean, we're dealing with that today, and it was the same back then. But having an alley I think it's a positive thing. Now, some people totally disagree. Alleys are trash collection points, and a late friend of mine, Jan Bast, an interior designer, the day she moved into her house, someone was shot in the alley behind her house in Kensington. Stuff like that. It's like, alleys are not great. These are they're just lines of fences and lines of garage doors, and you're not going to meet anybody back there in your alley.
Well, it's interesting, that for a long time the alleys were never paved. And only in recent decades did the city finally get around to paving them. So it was kind of a dirty afterthought of development. And I think what happened is the developers said, why should I pay to pave the street and pave the alley too? So they said, we're just going to put the garage in the front and there won't be an alley. So they got more units per acre as a developer than otherwise. I think honestly that was the reason why we got rid of them, is because developers didn't want to pay for the extra space.
And get this though, like for example, I live in a part of the city of San Diego, that Del Mar Heights, and I have an alley behind my house, unpaved. Well, it actually got paved one time because one of the people who lived on that alley worked for Tawfiq Khoury, who is a big developer of merchant-built housing, and he, as the story goes, he diverted some of the asphalt trucks to the alley behind our house and said, pave that damn alley because I'm using it to drive to my house. And so most of the houses on my street the garages are on that alley, despite the fact that initially it wasn't paved at all. So it was rutted from the rain and everything else. And if you wanted to pave an alley, you could, but you had to band together with your neighbors. Now, in my case, my driveway is actually out on the street. So I don't even know what's going on in that alley. My garden, my back fence and everything walls that part of the world off from me. So I don't even know the person who lives directly across the alley from the back of my house. I've never met those people. And I may never meet them because I'm not even sure I've been able to open the gate for the last 30 years to the alley. Anyway, I think that they're an interesting point of history. I think they need to be always examined as a possibility as we consider the remaking of certain neighborhoods in San Diego, unless we're going to change all of San Diego to multi-story buildings.
I have noticed in some developments in recent years where they're multi-family, multi-unit projects or townhouses, but the garages face each other in a sort of an alley, and you go into those parking, the garages from this alley. So it's a private alley, but it's not a public alley like the old ones were.
Yeah. I think that, architects have just kept trying. They will try and try and try, thankfully, to come up with, an innovation to deal with something that's 17 feet long, usually, an automobile. But it's good. Keep your eyes open for alleys, because it's worthwhile just taking a drive down them. And in Del Mar, there is a little orphan alley. That is the official name.
Well, that's the story of secret alleys in San Diego. Thank you, Peter.